I've just put these performance evidence checklists together. It's for the units in clusters 5 and 7. So what I've done is I've put here the relevant performance evidence. Lots of them relate to in the workplace, but generally when it says in the workplace, we've still catered for it here because in most cases in the workplace, we've said they've already done this in the simulated environment. So what I've done is I've put together checklists. Now the checklists take into account the performance evidence requirements, but I've made sure also I've covered off on all the requirements as part of these checklists here, or the training package. Now I've split it up in some cases. So this is the acute care one. So basically there's just general requirements there. Then it goes into pre-operative, post-operative. And there's also some emergency response requirements there. So we just, again, need the satisfactory signed off. I'll put a comments box down the bottom. And where there's some parts that were just awkward in the training package, difficult to build into the checklist, I'll put some boxes in that for a couple of written questions or reflective questions. So that's acute. With chronic, I actually put chronic and diabetes together because I thought that worked. So again, the relevant performance evidence from the 2 units. And again, I've applied it. So basically where it talks about chronic conditions, I've just replaced it with diabetes so that they're merged together. In here, I've got appropriate care for hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, and ketoacidosis. Which from my research, there's not much to it other than report to the doctor, document, and continue to measure the blood glucose. So again, with this one, just all the requirements as the training package sets out. Down here, it's later. This is more later on where you're evaluating the client. So I guess that will need to be built into the scenario to say then the next day or later that afternoon. It's sort of like you're re-evaluating the person. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that. With everything, I've got here nursing care plan, progress notes, or vital sign chart. So I want to look at what are the most relevant forms and templates that we should get the students to attach when they do this. I think progress notes and nursing care plans are done with nearly everything. I was just wondering with the diabetes one there, whether in the hospitals they have a specific diabetes chart or form that has information related to diabetes management, because lots of it seems about education, support resources, support organisations and stuff like that. So I was just wondering whether there was a specific diabetes assessment / management tool that often gets used. So again, just some questions for the awkward one. So that's acute and chronic. Then we've got wound management. We'll get rid of that. And again, they're just looking at a simple wound and a complex wound. So again, just interested in what tools they would need to complete for that. I've got the completed wound assessment tool, completed wound management plan, whether that's all you'd want them to complete, Louise. And then the last one is administer, monitor medicines and intravenous therapy. So I've just gone through and built these into a checklist. So the way I've sort of done it is I've had a section here which is general, that sort of applies to all administration and medication. Then I've gone into the specific areas, which is oral. Now they have to do this one in the workplace, so I'm only getting them to do that once. And subcutaneous is the same. We've asked them to do that in the workplace. With intramuscular injections and peripheral IV injections, that's the one that we aren't doing in the workplace so much, because this one could be simulated. So, and you need to have done it twice. So I've got the box there for them to do it twice. It says here, in the workplace or a simulated environment to at least 2 people. So what we can do, if you think it'd make it easier, go get rid of all those for intramuscular. So that can sort of be blacked out. And then they just do intramuscular injection once. And then peripheral, black the other one out. So then they only do that one once on a different person. So on person A, they do the intermuscular, and person B, they do the peripheral, which then satisfies this requirement here. So in the workplace or in a simulated environment to at least 2 people, so they'd be doing 2 different people, and which must include the following routes. And then they do one of each of those. So just interested to see whether you want to do both of them twice, or just obviously the easiest method is to only do them once. I reckon I've got these pretty close, the methods for subcutaneous, etc. Intramuscular. The one I'm just not sure about is what I've got here for peripheral IV injection and removing the cannula. Charisse and I spoke about it, but I reckon this might need a bit of work. And then for general, again, I've got information down there that relates to basically all the above. I've got A and D in some cases, but that would probably be replaced because I'd make reference to that next to general, that it relates to all treatments above. Then I've got a section on pain relief therapy and blood transfusion management. That one would need to be done for 2. I've blacked that out so it only needs to be 1, and comments. So obviously there's a fair bit to that. So whether we just obviously I've put dates in here because I thought the information for all the different sections here might be drawn on from different times you've see them do it as part of their lab sessions. So I'll be open to feedback on that as well, if you understand what I mean. And just some boxes for the parts that were a bit awkward as part of satisfying the training package. So again, if we can have a chat about that, and I can get a better idea of, are there any parts that I've put in these checklists that you reckon are too awkward to achieve or too poorly written? What you think on the day, or whether they're performing these tasks when they're being observed, what paperwork they'll be filling in at the same time. So for medications, is there templates they should be completing as they go through this administering medication observation? And anything else in regards to the way they're set up or issues you're anticipating. So basically, I think if we get this right, we should have to do that final assessment task in cluster 5, which has got tasks underneath it. We should pretty much be able to get rid of most of them if we can get this right. And again, it's getting the balance of where you feel this checklist can be signed off based upon what you've already seen in labs, and what you need to do an extra, I guess, observation session for before they go on clinic to make sure they're right on their toes with it. So if we could chat about that as well. Hopefully this is clearish, what I've put together here.